I'm John Gabriel, and welcome to our program, Lose the Stress, Lose the Weight, Tapping for Weight Loss. So many of us struggle with stress in our daily lives. If we don't deal with the stress and stored emotional trauma, it can be impossible to lose weight and keep it off. That's why I'm delighted to share this program with you. Tapping is a simple and powerful healing modality that's proven incredibly useful in relieving stress and resolving trauma. And once you learn this technique, it's yours forever. My colleague Carol Look and I created this in-depth program to help you access and deal with the emotional issues that may be the source of your weight struggles and help you end them once and for all. Thanks for joining us.
My name is David, I'm 52, and I'm from New Jersey.
My name is Grail, I'm 54 years old, and I'm from Amity Harbor, New York.
My name is Ellen, I'm 29, and I live in Washington, D.C.
I'm Jordan, I'm 25 years old, and I'm from Manhattan.
I have a business that is 25 years old, and for the past 5 years, we've been struggling. We're at a point where we're holding on by a thread.
I'm struggling with a lot of different stress issues, work-related, finance-related, relationship-related, just general life, what on earth am I doing, question-related.
My name is Carrie, I'm 28, and I'm from Glassboro, New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Marlon. I'm 66-year-old, and I come originally from the Netherlands.
Living on the South Shore of Long Island, I was affected pretty dramatically by Hurricane Sandy. And when the storm hit, basically took out the whole first floor of my home, which is where I had a year before moved my elderly mom in with me.
My name is Saeed Nagib. I'm 19 years old, and I'm from the beautiful city of Vancouver, British Columbia.
My name is Sally, and I'm from Connecticut, and I'm 55 years old.
I'm Maria, I'm 40, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Right now, my main stress is from school. Late nights, long hours, papers.
I think that if I recollect over my life, that the times that I've struggled the most with my weight are the times that I can kind of point to and say, oh, I was definitely stressed out.
Well, I've been trying to find a job, and which is very difficult. Financially, it's kind of hard, so I really need to find work.
My name is Bridget. I'm 55 years old, and I live in Long Island.
My name is John. I am 37 years old, and I'm from Yonkers, New York.
My name is Jacqueline. I'm 44, and I'm from Westchester County.
I'm working on two things. The first is ways to compensate for my emotional eating, and then also ways to maintain a work-life balance.
I wish I really knew what the main stress issue. I feel stressed a lot. I have anxiety in my body daily. I really firmly believe that weight and stress are intimately involved.
Being a firefighter is particularly stressful for many reasons. Mostly being just the day-to-day turmoil that we're dealing with. I tend to tune myself out, and in that I don't pay attention when I'm eating. I don't pay attention to a lot of things that are going on around me, and not paying attention to myself leads to me gaining weight and not taking care of myself properly.
So Carol, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure, and I love sharing this with everybody that I can because it's been so useful in my life and for my clients. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I was trained as a traditional psychotherapist, regular one-to-one therapy and group therapy, and I worked in an addictions agency. So I was a professional in helping people stop drinking and drugging, and we also worked with the family members. And of course, what would happen is people would stop drinking and they would start gaining weight, or they would start picking up something else because we weren't dealing with the bottom line, their emotions and their feelings and their stress. Because in beginning counseling, you're not supposed to go to the biggies. You're supposed to leave those until later when someone has some traction. So sure enough, people would gain weight and be unhappy about that. And I was working in the agency, and I was working in a private practice as well. And I was frustrated with the results. Talk therapy is wonderful when it works, but I like results and I wanted more. So I got extensive training in hypnosis, and I thought that was really exciting about the brain and how we work in our left and right brain. And someone in my class said, my training said, you think this is exciting, wait till you try this new tapping thing. Now tapping has been around for 30 years, so it wasn't that new. This was in 1997. So I took my first couple of courses in tapping, got all excited about it, and I would say to my clients, I was trained in this new stress relief technique, would you be willing to do 5 minutes at the end of your session? If it doesn't work, you don't like it, I'll give you the 5 minutes. And so there was no loss. So I started doing that with the weight loss and the quit smoking people, and sure enough, the next week they would come back and say, this is weird, what did you do? I did it by myself, I feel different. It was just fascinating. Everything changed. So then I started moving over from the hypnosis field into the tapping, and for 17 years I've done mostly tapping.
So what exactly is tapping, and why does it work?
So what we do is we borrowed from ancient traditional Chinese medicine, right? So acupuncturists, they're meridians or pathways, circuits of energy, they call it qi, right, that flow through our body. And Chinese doctors believe that in order to have health, mental and physical, you need to have a smooth flowing of this energy or electricity. And if you have any symptoms, cravings, stress, insomnia, outbursts of anger, if you have any of those symptoms, it means there's some blockage. So we don't use needles, we use a tapping motion, very light tapping, on the same points that an acupuncturist.
So you're saying like an acupuncturist will put a needle here, a needle there, and it'll unblock this energy flow, and that's how you get healthier. But you're not doing that, you're actually just taking that point and you're tapping on it, and by tapping on it, it's somehow unblocking the flow of this energy.
So we take the primary meridians, the circuitry, and we tap on the end points. So they're points that are easier to get to. So,
and these are points that have been mapped out through Chinese medicine over thousands of years. Is that the idea? So you're taking those points and you're taking the end points and
just tapping very lightly on them.
And by tapping, it's somehow releasing the blockage that's caused by the stress or the pain. Is that?
Yes. What they think is going on is, let's say you have a stressful situation and it's making you eat and choose food or alcohol or cigarettes, whatever your drug of choice is. What I would say to you is focus on that stress, and in that moment, John would call up the file, right? He'd open the document. And while that's open, we do the tapping, which seems to send signals to that part of the brain to calm it down. So we've now paired the stress with a stress relief technique. Now, I think there's more research to be done. I think we don't entirely know why it's working, but for, I guess, 29 years, maybe longer, practitioners have been having incredible results in all fields, all challenges, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. So.
See, for me, I love a technique like this because even though we don't 100% know why it works, because we don't understand these energy channels, because let's face it, modern medicine, we don't even acknowledge that we have these life force meridians that have been studied for thousands of years by other cultures, but even though we don't fully understand it, it works really well and there's no downside. And that's what I like about a technique like this, because at the very least, you're going to get a little bit of stress reduction, you're going to be calmer. At the very most, you're going to break through some massive trauma that's been blocking you or sabotaging you or causing weight gain and causing pain in every area of your life. I love situations like that where you have all upside and no downside. And interesting, you talk about hypnosis, because I started trying hypnosis for weight loss and got a little bit of success with that, and the hypnotherapist introduced me to the tapping technique. And we actually had a tapping session, and this was back in 2001, when no one ever heard of it. And I thought it was the weirdest thing, and I was really amazed that we did these little simple things, and what would happen is we talk about an issue, I'm stressed out at work, right? So this stress, then we do this, I'm stressed, we do this thing, and then it would bring another issue up, that's something with my relationship, and we do that, and that would come up. And then the next thing, it was like layers. And each time it got the one stress out of the way, the next thing would come up until there was nothing left. And then I felt different. I felt different about the situation. When I tried to think about my working relationships with my business partner, it didn't bother me. When I tried to think about the thing that was bothering me in my relationship, it didn't bother me anymore. And it was almost like it was blocked, like my mind didn't go there and the emotional reaction didn't go there. And because the emotional reaction didn't go, the chemistry wasn't there anymore. And it made it much easier for me to lose weight. And that kind of set me on a path where I learned how to deal with stress. I started doing meditation, I started doing visualization, I started doing yoga and qigong and all these different things to help deal with stress. And that put me on a path. And it wasn't until I did that I was able to then lose over 200 pounds. And at that time, it was really effortless. You know, stress doesn't just cause you to eat, it causes chemistry in your body, this whole cascade of chemicals that actually forces you to gain weight. It actually tricks your body into thinking you're starving to death You could have 200 pounds of excess weight on your body, and the chemicals, the chemistry in your body actually tricks your brain into thinking you have no fat. Because when you think about, how does your brain know how fat you are? Did you ever think about that for a second? Your brain's here and your body's here. How does your brain know how fat you are? Well, there's signals. Your fat cells send signals to your brain. The more fat you have, the more signals you get. And so when there's a lot of signals, it's a hormone called leptin. So when there's a lot of leptin, your brain says, oh, look at all that leptin, we must be loaded with fat, let's lose weight. Your metabolism speeds up, you're not hungry, blah, 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 all these things happen, you lose weight effortlessly. But a scenario takes place because of stress and trauma where the brain cannot hear leptin. So you can have 200 pounds of excess weight, you can have leptin all over the place, and your brain's just not hearing it. So imagine this scenario for a second. Imagine you've got 200 pounds of excess weight on you. Your brain thinks you're starving because the chemistry is getting interrupted, the signals are getting interrupted, and the brain's not able to hear how much weight you have on you. And then all of a sudden that chemistry goes away, and your brain actually, it's like you wake up one day and your brain realizes you've got 200 pounds of excess weight. What happens? Your brain goes, oh my God, where'd all this weight come from? How did I get 200 pounds? It's like overnight to your brain. That's really what's happening. And you're not hungry anymore. And so for me, when I say that losing the weight was effortless, I mean it was effortless because my body didn't want it anymore. My brain could hear the chemistry properly, and the weight just fell off of me. And that comes from dealing with stress. Now, weight can come from a lot of different issues, but we all have stress. We all have emotional trauma, and the chemistry that takes place in your body during those times causes this interruption, causes the problem. So if you try to lose weight without addressing this, you are driving with the emergency brake on. And so for me, this tapping is so beautiful because it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes at home. You don't have, that's it. Once you learn the technique and you've got a tool for getting your brain and your body to work together so that weight loss can be effortless.
So step number 1, choose a target. You have to have a target to aim this technique at. And a target can be an emotion. It can be a symptom, if you have migraine headaches. It can be an event, a memory of an event. When we work on trauma, that's what we do. And you want to choose something very clear. Not, oh, I have low self-esteem, or I'm overweight, but I have high anxiety, or I'm very stressed out. So you choose a target, and you measure how you feel about it, how strong, how upsetting the target makes you feel on a 0 to 10 point scale. So for this first exercise, I'm going to talk about stress, and so that everyone can participate. Okay. So if we're doing stress, I want all of you to think of a particular stressor in your life, so work, home, weight, body, something. Okay. And when you think of it, how upset do you get? How intense is it, 0 to 10?
And if it's 0, you probably shouldn't be thinking about it. Think about
if it's 0,
else. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
There's no reason to do a tapping
Good.
if it's 0.
Good.
That's what we're trying to get.
So then we start tapping on what's called the karate chop point. If you've ever seen a karate master on television chop a block in half, it's right on that part of the hand, either hand, okay? Yeah. And we start there, and this is the part that some people, they feel a little awkward with it, but what we do is we name the problem. We say, even though, and in this case, we'll just say, I have this stress. Okay, we'll just make that blanket. Even though I have this stress, I deeply and completely accept myself. I deeply and completely respect myself. I'm okay anyway. Something that says, something that helps you stop pushing against yourself. Part of the stress for people with weight loss is I hate myself, I'm not doing it well, I haven't done it well, I failed again, I'm ashamed. So we just say, here's where I am, and I'm okay. So we start there. So you all have chosen your stress that you're thinking about and a number connected to it. So we start here and we say...
And we're tapping with all 4 fingers.
I tap. Now some people, again, some of you have already learned this before, and you see people doing this with both karate chop points. I'm right-handed, and I learned the tapping this way, so I tap like this. My 4 fingers on that particular karate chop point, okay? So, and then you just repeat this. You say, even though I have this stress...
Even though I have this stress...
Everybody can say it. Even though I have this stress, I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
And if that's hard to say, that's information for you. That's pretty good feedback if you can't say that. And we do it 2 or 3 times. Even though I have this intense stress.
Even though I have this intense stress.
And it's really bothering me.
It's really bothering me.
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
Let's do it a 3rd time. Even though I have this profound stress.
even though I have this profound stress.
I deeply and completely love and accept who I am anyway.
I deeply and completely love and accept who I am anyway.
Okay. Then we start tapping. I use 2 fingers of my dominant hand, and we start tapping on these specific points that they mapped out. Roger Callahan originally used these points in the tapping way back when with thought field therapy. So the first point is at the beginning of the hair of either eyebrow. So it's not your third eye, it's not right at your nose, it's the beginning of the hair. Okay, so you
In
just...
the middle? Oh,
no,
okay.
no, beginning of the hair.
Of either side?
Yep, either side. You can do your right side of your body or the left side. It doesn't matter. They've actually done some tests with lighting us up while we're tapping. So go ahead right here. The first, it's called the eyebrow point.
Okay.
And while we're tapping here, we tune into the problem. We say the problem so we don't get distracted by noise and thinking of other thoughts. We want to be in it. Right? You want to be in it in order to move things. So start tapping at the eyebrow point and say, this intense stress.
This intense stress.
Good. The next point is the side of the eye, either one. It's that little bone right here. They're all on bones. And you can do either side. This intense stress in my life.
This intense stress in my life.
The next point is under your eye, right on, they call it the bony orbit, right there.
Right in the middle?
Yeah, right in the middle.
Okay.
This intense stress I'm dealing with.
This intense stress I'm dealing with.
And these are all critical endpoints of the meridians, the circuits or the pathways. The next point is your upper lip right below your nose. This stress I'm dealing with.
This stress I'm dealing with.
And we're just tapping lightly and just tapping long enough to say the phrase, whatever we're focused on. The next one is called your chin point, and it's actually above your chin, below your lip, right in the crease there. This stress I'm dealing with.
This stress I'm dealing with.
The next point is called your collarbone point. In Chinese acupuncture, it's K27. It's right at the bottom of those funny little knobs there that come down.
Show me.
So you would be right, it's right below, so it's right there. You feel that?
Okay, so there's a bone right
There's
here.
a bone, the knob's
and I
right
go
there.
underneath it.
Under and a little bit to the side. Now if you
so you feel the bone, if you
feel the little
bone,
knobs and go
then you
right
just go
under,
the
it's a
soft spot.
little tender.
It's tender.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or if it's easier for you, just put your hand out in a palm and go where the knot of a man's tie would fall, and you're covering both of them.
Okay.
So you can do that, or you can just do tapping like that, okay? So this is the next one, the collarbone point, and we just say it again, this intense stress.
This intense stress.
The next point is under the arm. Imagine you have a seam going up your body, left or right, about 4 inches below your armpit.
Okay.
So see if I can see that? Right, tap right there, might be tender for some of you. Another acupuncture endpoint, okay? This intense stress.
This intense stress.
And then we end on the top of the head. Now some people start on the top of the head, it doesn't matter. Okay, we're just getting the main meridian. So
It's the very top.
yeah, very top, important place where many acupuncture points come together. We tap around there in a little circle, and we just name the problem again. This intense stress I'm dealing with.
This intense stress I'm dealing with.
Good. And you just take a deep breath. To keep moving the energy along the pathways. And there's no right or wrong. We go back to the number and the issue you addressed and brought up and measure it again, right? So you weren't measuring something, but you all were measuring something. So tune back in, think about it again, don't change topics. And how's your number? Did you have any questions about when we were doing it with you?
I'm feeling a difference. You know,
You're feeling different, and I didn't even measure him.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Right.
the other thing that happens in group work is that people say, oh, this isn't my issue, I'll just let them do it.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, wait a minute, something happened. So remember, the mechanics of it, we're accessing the circuitry of energy or electricity in your body and calming you down. And even my most skeptical clients would say, okay, well, maybe I feel a little better, or they'd say physically they feel a little more relaxed. So that's the least benefit you'll get.
That's why I say that in a situation like this, using a technique like this, at the very, very least, and I'm talking rock bottom least, you're going to lower your stress level. And simply by doing that, it's going to make it infinitely easier for you to lose weight. That's the rock bottom least that you can expect from it. And to me, as a worst case scenario, that's perfect. So
yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
We just keep saying this intense stress, or do we say other things?
Well, in the very beginning of tapping, it was ultra simple. So you would just, let's say you chose an anxiety. You would say, this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety. And when the person is sitting in front of me, I tell a story. They've told me a little bit more about their story. So I might say, this intense stress. Oh, it really bothers me.
Yeah.
That boss is really annoying. Oh, I can't believe I'm going.
Okay, so you're not telling the story now because because you don't know the story.
Right.
You're trying to
Right.
make it. So if
Right.
we don't know the story,
You just say the same
this
phrasing.
intense stress, and you think about it.
Yes, and it's called a reminder phrase to make sure you're tuned in and not getting distracted.
Right.
So you can just say the same thing, this
Okay.
stress, this
So
stress.
later, when we deal with specific issues,
Yes.
we'll get into like a story a little
Yes,
bit.
yes.
As you just saw, we gathered a diverse group of participants in an intensive tapping workshop in New York City. Now you'll see sessions featuring 4 of these participants, with plenty of learning tips along the way from Carol and myself. So let's get started, and please tap along with us at home.
What's a priority for you to work on, to clear, to bring down so that you're better around your stress levels, your physiology, and any kind of eating habits that happen?
Battling myself.
Battling yourself?
Myself, yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
I originally picked up John's book because I was having issues with my weight, and it was a yo-yo effect. I never was overweight as a child, but as I got older, I started to gain, and I was wondering where it was coming from. And
You'd
it
go
just,
up and down and then up and...
Yeah, I would go up in the winters, down in the summers, as always, trying to drop weight for the summer, look better. But then with my career, I started noticing I needed to be healthier. I needed to get this weight off me because they kept putting more weight on me year to year. I needed to drop weight to become lighter. And I just started noticing more looking in the mirror and not being happy with myself. And then through injury, through the career, I would gain because I would get lazy. Just the stresses of everyday life. And I'm just tired of it, you know? I know I don't have much really to get rid of anymore, but I just want to be comfortable with myself.
Okay.
I'm a single mother. I was separated in 2011, and the father of my children had been involved with his children until November of this past year, where he left, went to live with another woman and her children, and he's completely not involved with my children anymore. So I am completely the only one taking care of my children, emotionally, physically, mentally, the whole situation. My daughter had a really tough time back in January and ended up needing to be hospitalized. And so the stress of taking care and being the only person with, you know, financially and otherwise is really, really big.
Well, I'm in a very competitive industry. To get into the industry is very difficult, and once you're in, it's kind of like that hedonic treadmill of you've never hit the goal. There's always a new one set before you've managed to settle into the first layer. And it's a very aggressive, successful team that I work for, and I'm thrilled that I'm with them. But sometimes when they pass on the work to my level, it gets a bit condescending, and maybe one person in particular who you feel like almost like you're being attacked. He can zero in. He knows what makes you uncomfortable, and he uses that to drive you harder, because in his mind, that's what brings productivity fear, or just that kind of aggression. And it's gotten to the point I can't eat in the office. I can't eat around the team. I just feel very like, just like somebody's keeping tabs all the time. It gets so stressful.
I've been a caregiver my entire life, and it gives me a feeling of control and comfort by doing that, and I'm good at it. And then sometimes I find myself being very anxious when things I can't control happen, and I feel like my world is falling apart when that happens. So I'm constantly under stress because I can't control everything.
Right.
And then more personally, my mom and I've lived together for a lot of years, and she's much older now, and I feel sometimes like I'm so worried about her that I don't give her a chance to breathe, because I'm always worried about her health, and I don't want to do that to her either, so I have all these conflicts.
And anything else about keeping the weight on as protection, as John said? What would you say about that?
I have a lot of trust issues.
So that makes sense to you, though, why then you would feel the need for the protection? in addition to the stress and the anxiety?
Not sure specifically what, but definitely.
Okay. Just tune into that without the specifics.
Okay.
Right? I have trust issues is a specific target, right? Because we can tell it brings up something for you.
Yeah.
So say again, I have these trust issues.
I have these trust issues.
0 to 10? 10? Yeah. Okay. So we're just 1000. Okay. We're gonna just see if we can get that down with the tapping.
Okay.
Okay. Because that is probably coursing through your body as anxiety all the time. I'm going to say some pretty strong statements, and I want you to measure the truth of them.
Okay.
Okay? I hate myself.
Okay.
0 to 10?
6.
6. So you live with a 6. That's horrible, intolerable. Okay? You hate yourself for your weight and other things, or just the weight?
Other things.
Other things.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about those? You don't have to. We can do whatever you want. But that self-hatred, the self-loathing, will keep pounds on forever.
Not doing enough.
You feel like you don't do enough.
Yeah.
Past or current?
All the above.
All of the above?
Yeah.
Okay.
Current.
Current.
Yeah.
So pick an incident or an area where you think I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough. Pick that so we target one part so it's not too much, right? You have a lot to choose from.
It just seems like my life. I tend to take on everything in large scales.
So more guilt and responsibility.
Yeah, let's not have one kid, let's have 4. Let's not buy a, single family house, let's buy a multifamily. Let's not join the fire department and go to an easy company, let's go to the hardest company.
Okay, where does that come from?
Probably my past, childhood.
Okay, and do you know what feelings it comes from in your childhood? Because I can make a guess, but I don't know for you.
Trying to do more.
Because usually people who do that, to do the next one, it's because they feel so inadequate, right? That's where it comes, that's where it's not healthy drive, it's too much, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's get very clear about what we're going to measure, okay? Think of the past part, okay? I didn't do enough, I wasn't enough. See what resonates more. I didn't do enough, or I wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough.
I wasn't enough, okay? Do you have an incident or a decade or a time period? Yeah, you do? Okay, 0 to 10, I wasn't enough. How high is that about that incident that you're thinking of? 9. What else is an issue for you that blocks you from being able to release the weight, or that keeps you protecting yourself, or that keeps you feeling safe?
I think I'm lonely. I feel like I'm all alone in taking care of my children. And I think I felt lonely in my marriage because it wasn't a good marriage. So I don't really feel more lonely that he's gone, but I think I feel lonely.
And that's what I was going to say. How long have you felt lonely? Not since 2011,
No,
a long
it's been
time.
a really long time.
Right.
It's been a really long time feeling lonely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Say out loud, I just feel lonely.
I just feel lonely.
0 to 10?
Probably 9.
9, okay. As far as the target, he's pressuring me, he's pushing me. What would be the language that would really fit you?
It sounds funny, but I feel like sometimes he scares me. Like, he zeroes in so much, and the attacks get so personal.
Okay. And is he your boss? We'll call him your boss. Is that enough, or just a
He's
colleague?
somebody in the team. He's
Okay.
pretty high up in the teams.
Okay, all right. All right. Even though he attacks me.
Even though he attacks
and
me.
zeroes in on me.
He zeroes in on
and
me.
It terrifies me.
And it terrifies me.
And it feels intrusive.
And it feels intrusive.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And how I'm trying to handle it.
And how I'm trying to handle it.
Even though it's really scary.
Even though it's really scary.
He's so aggressive.
He's so aggressive.
And he really gets to me.
And he really gets to me.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And how I feel about it.
And how I feel about it.
Even though I don't feel any space.
Even though I don't feel any space.
Or any freedom.
Or any freedom.
Because he's always hovering.
Because he's always hovering.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And how upset it makes me.
And how upset it makes me.
I wish he would go away.
I wish he would go away.
I wish he would leave me alone.
I wish he would leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
You're in my space.
You're in my space.
Stop being so aggressive.
Stop being so aggressive.
Stop attacking me.
Stop attacking me.
Get away.
Get away.
You're bothering me.
You're bothering me.
You're so intrusive.
You're so intrusive.
Stop zeroing in.
Stop zeroing in.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
I know you're smart.
I know you're smart.
But fear is not working anymore.
But fear is not working anymore.
It's not making me more productive.
It's not making me more productive.
It's just scaring me.
It's just scaring me.
And I can't even eat in the office anymore.
And I can't even eat in the office anymore.
Okay, take a breath. So all we want to do is reduce that daily. How many hours a week are you working, right?
A lot.
Right, clearly, right?
Yeah.
So we reduce that so he doesn't have this overpowering, threatening sense about him to you.
Yeah.
Okay, does that feel any better just saying those words and describing it?
Yeah.
You had said hovering to me on the brink, so I use that word.
Yeah.
You know? How does it feel to you?
A little bit more tranquil.
A little more tranquil. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Typically, when you're not able to deal with your feelings from past or present, there's a safety issue that comes up. And we talk about this safety issue a lot, about how, and I lived through this. You know, when I was working in New York, okay, I was stressed out and that was causing me to gain weight, but I was also in a really, really violent working experience. I had a business partner that was just relentlessly angry and violent. And it triggered some stuff in me as a kid because I had someone in my life that was very abusive, very big, and very violent. And so my business partner, you know, never beat me or anything like that, but he had all the traits.
Threatening. Right.
Extremely threatening. But what happened was, I worked with this guy for 15 years. And the whole time I was working with him, I got heavier and heavier. And it was like, I was putting distance, because we worked in the same trading desk, you know, almost this close. And he's angry all the time, you know, and he's putting out all this negative energy, you know, and so the weight was like a buffer to that energy and a buffer to the anger, and eventually I got so big that I wasn't afraid of him anymore. You know, I felt like I was twice his size. I could squash him. You know, I could sit on him like a pancake. You know, I wasn't afraid of him anymore. But the weight did that. It created this kind of protection. And for a lot of people, especially if you've been abused as a kid, and I see this a lot with women, that weight came on as a result of that as protection. It's a buffer between me and you. I'm afraid of you. I need this.
Yes. Two questions I ask that always reveal something. What's the upside to keeping the weight on? And they say, don't be silly. I've been trying to lose. I know you have. What's the upside? Oh, and that sometimes leads them to say, I feel safer with it. I feel protected. What's the downside to losing the weight? There's no downside. Don't be silly. There must be a downside, or else you would have been able to do it. And then they can get to, because the last time I was there, I had someone in her 50s say, the last time I was at my goal weight, I got pregnant. And she said, clearly I'm not going to get pregnant again. But she had such, in a work, and it was perfect because it was in a workshop, she said, clearly I have a connection to getting pregnant again, which I don't want to. And she said, it's not medically possible, but she had an association.
Right, but a lot of people have an association with being attractive and
attention.
You know, and sometimes it's attention because they're in a marriage and they want to stay faithful, and if they get all this attention, you know, so there's all these underlying issues.
So the question is, what will happen when you get there? Because again, everyone runs around saying, I want to get there. Really? Are you sure you want to get there?
Exactly.
Then you ask them to go.
Exact same thing we do. Now, once you're dealing with the feelings around the safety issue, now what we usually do is with visualization, we give them a kind of a way of feeling safe, with some angel wings wrapped around them, a column of light, a surrogate for the weight. Is there something that we can do with tapping where not only do we get rid of the feelings about feeling unsafe, but actually make them feel safe?
Yes, how I address it is that, so usually this is connected to abuse. So they were small, they were a child, and they were traumatized or abused. And what I'll say is, you were how old back then? 6, right? Well, of course you can't do anything with a 250-pound man, right, when you're 6. And so we address the past. I was unsafe back then, I couldn't do anything, he threatened me. Now how old are you? And the person will say, I'm 42. How do you feel? Oh. Safety is up to them now. It's not about being 6. So they start to, instead of globalize everything, I'm never going to be safe if I take 40 pounds off, they start saying, oh, come to think, oh, I'm safe now because I'm adult, but when you've been abused as a
you
child.
do that through tapping, like,
Yes.
Like through a reversal?
No,
Maybe
start with a past.
Yeah.
So we have the past, the present, and the future.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to lose weight in the future
Right.
because of their past.
Right. So we start with the past.
Even though I wasn't safe back then, I
Right.
couldn't protect myself, I'm afraid it's going to happen again.
Right.
Picture yourself in the future. What would you do differently now? Well, it would never happen now. Why not? Because I'm an adult and I take care of myself. So it starts to change. So they have to do some, with their thoughts and feelings, they have to get back into it.
And you find that that's an effective way of making them feel safe and
Yes.
relieving that
Yes.
that initial trauma?
Yes. Well, and also, as an adult, if they're carrying 40 to 200 extra pounds on themselves, they don't feel safe. And so I say, how safe do you actually feel? And they say, I still don't feel safe, even with the extra weight. Their boss.
Which is usually the case.
Yes. So we get that feeling in the present down as far as we can.
Yeah.
Then the weight has a place to go.
Yeah.
It can you can't release it if it's your protection.
Right. But basically, anytime the safety issue comes up, you always look for it and address it. You know, even though I don't feel safe, you always look for that. And I would go as far as to say, if you've had serious weight issues your whole life, or if you can target your weight issues to any some kind of specific event, always look for that. Always look for the safety issue first. Try to get as far down into that issue. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you can get to that safety issue, you're dealing with the real issue then.
Yes, and if you don't get to it, no matter what
exactly.
you do,
that's our experience.
The weight can't come off because it's a survival mechanism.
Exactly.
And that's the only thing humans care about.
Well,
protecting
bodies.
themselves.
The only thing our bodies care about is
the safety.
Is the safety.
So we agree so much on that. We're
Beautiful.
speaking the same language.
High five.
Even though I have these trust issues.
Even though I have these trust issues.
And I know they're connected to my weight.
And I know they're connected to my weight.
I deeply
and
profoundly accept myself anyway.
Accept myself anyway.
Even though I have these trust issues.
Even though I have the trust issues.
And it's hard to accept myself.
And it's hard to accept myself.
I choose to accept that I'm doing the best I can.
I choose to accept that I'm doing the best I can.
Okay, one more time. Even though I have these trust issues.
Even though I have these trust issues.
From childhood.
From childhood.
I can feel it. I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And how I feel.
And how I feel.
Okay. Now, just while you keep tapping there, do you want to say anything else about it? Because it seemed like you were tuning in more. Totally up to you.
I'm just afraid.
Afraid. Afraid of what?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. So go right to the eyebrow, okay? I'm afraid of what could come up.
I'm afraid of what could come up.
I'm afraid of what might come up.
I'm afraid of what might come up.
Under the eye, I have this fear and anxiety.
I have this fear and anxiety.
About my trust issues.
About my trust issues.
I'm worried about these trust issues.
I'm worried about these trust issues.
My anxiety about these trust issues.
My anxiety about these trust issues.
I'm worried about these trust issues.
I'm worried about these trust issues.
Just the topic makes me anxious.
Just the topic makes me anxious.
Eyebrow, I feel so anxious about trust issues.
I feel so anxious about trust issues.
I'm afraid of what could come up.
I'm afraid what could come up.
I'm afraid of what might come up.
I'm afraid of what might come up.
Under the nose, I don't want to feel out of control.
I don't feel out of control.
I have all this fear of what could come up.
I have all this fear of what could come up.
Fear about these trust issues.
Fear about these trust issues.
Fear and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety.
Top of the head. It's fear and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety.
Good. And then take a deep breath. So that was a little unusual about our target statement, right? These trust issues was kind of broad, but what came up immediately was you don't want to, that scares you, just admitting that they're trust issues. Okay, and that's why I was talking about the anxiety with the tapping. So see if you can go back in, just say the word, just say the phrase, I know I have these trust issues.
I know I have these trust issues.
Okay, that was a 10-100. How are you doing now?
It's still really high, but it's not, I could say the words.
Yeah, I could see it. There was shifting there. Now, the anxiety, I have anxiety about these trust issues.
I have anxiety about these trust issues. It's a little bit less.
A little bit less, okay. I'm afraid of what could come up.
I'm afraid of what could come up. I'm I'm still afraid of what
Yes.
could come.
So I'm fishing around for the right language that really meets her and that really feels like a bullseye to you. And the highest one right now, I think, is I'm afraid of what could come up.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to be clear on this one thing. So if I'm feeling like a failure,
yes.
Okay, do I say that even though I feel like a failure, or do I say
Yes.
even though
So-
I am a failure? Like what do you?
Okay, so
Because all
two-
these things are so
yes.
foreign to me. I never say these
Yes.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So two options.
Yeah.
If let's say you feel like a failure.
Or you feel like you failed, or
Okay,
like
in a project, okay?
Yeah.
So you think about the project,
Yeah.
right? I have that awful feeling, I
Yeah.
feel like a failure. How does feel like a failure, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Like a failure? No, that's not a feeling. How does it make you feel? I feel ashamed.
Okay.
Even though I feel ashamed because I think I failed at that.
Okay,
I
that's
deeply
a much better
regret-
statement. So you don't say
Yeah.
you don't say generalized judgment statements like I'm a failure. You don't say things like
well,
that.
that ends up being a belief. If
Yeah.
you're convinced,
Yeah.
right, because beliefs end up being kind of compulsive. We have to live them out. So I'm convinced I'm a failure. I believe I failed. I believe
So you
I'm a
don't
loser. You can do that as under the belief category.
Yeah.
It's always more powerful to go to the emotion.
Okay.
Even though I wasn't enough back then,
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
and I've been punishing myself ever since.
I've been punishing myself.
Ever since. I deeply and profoundly respect the efforts I've been making.
Respect the efforts I've been making.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
And I'm not sure I'll ever forgive myself. I accept who I am now.
Accept who I am now.
Even though I punish myself about back then.
Even though I punished myself about back then.
I have an idea that I wasn't enough. I'm convinced.
I have an idea that I wasn't enough. I'm convinced.
I deeply and profoundly accept my feelings.
Accept my feelings.
Eyebrow. I wasn't enough back then.
I wasn't enough back then.
I didn't do enough.
I didn't do enough.
I wasn't enough.
I wasn't enough.
And I've been trying to make up for it my whole life. No wonder I'm so stressed out. No wonder my weight goes up and down. All connected to that past issue.
All connected to that past issue.
That I wasn't enough.
That I wasn't enough.
I didn't do enough.
Do enough.
I wasn't enough.
I wasn't enough.
I didn't do enough.
I didn't do enough.
I feel inadequate.
I feel inadequate.
And I've been trying to make up for it ever since.
I've been trying to make up for it ever since.
That rings true, then.
Yeah.
Been trying to make up for it ever since.
Trying to make up for it ever since.
No wonder I'm exhausted.
No wonder I'm exhausted.
And totally stressed out.
Totally stressed out.
Good. Anybody have some Kleenex?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
So you get the connection of all of the above, right? The
Yeah.
past, the current, what you're doing in your life, and then struggling with the body issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else come up that would be good for us to know about, or that you want to tell us about any of these issues? Or we're just going to keep tapping, but I want to know if there's anything else you want to say about it.
No, it's... no, just like to keep tapping.
Even though I feel lonely,
Even though I feel lonely,
I accept who I am
I accept who I am
and how I feel.
and how I feel.
Even though I feel lonely and now alone,
Even though I feel lonely and now alone,
I accept my feelings,
I accept my feelings.
even though they're difficult.
Even though they're difficult.
Even though I feel lonely
Even though I feel lonely
and so alone,
and so alone,
I accept who I am
I accept who I am
and how I feel.
and how I feel.
This lonely feeling
This lonely feeling
has caused so much stress
has caused so much stress.
on the side. Yeah.
Good.
This lonely feeling.
This lonely feeling.
I feel so lonely.
I feel so lonely.
So I try to protect myself.
So I try to protect myself.
I feel so lonely and alone.
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 I have felt lonely for a long time.
I have felt lonely for a long time.
And I need comfort.
And I need comfort.
And sometimes I use food.
Sometimes I used food.
I feel so lonely.
I feel so lonely.
And it's all up to me.
It's all up to me.
The burden is so heavy.
Burden is heavy.
I feel lonely and alone.
I feel lonely and alone.
I feel so lonely in my life.
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 Take a breath. measure, right, the feeling in your body. I feel so lonely.
I feel so lonely.
0 to 10?
7.
7. Okay. So nothing changed, nobody's come into your life, but we're trying to reduce that feeling which triggers the stress, which causes you to hold on to weight to have for protection. Okay, so we'll do it again. Even though he bothers me all the time.
Even though he bothers me all the time.
And he hovers.
And he hovers.
And he's in my face.
And he's in my face.
And I'm tired of it.
And I'm tired of it.
Because it doesn't make me more productive.
Because it doesn't make me more productive.
I realize this stress.
I realize the stress
is affecting my body.
Is affecting my body.
And it upsets me.
And it upsets me.
Even though he's hovering.
Even though he's hovering.
In my space.
In my space.
In my face.
In my face.
Attacking me.
Attacking me.
And it makes me mad.
And it makes me mad.
And makes me, what else? How else do you feel about it?
Stupid. He doesn't trust me to handle things.
Okay. Okay. He's micromanaging me.
He's micromanaging me.
And it makes me feel stupid.
And it makes me feel stupid.
I accept this reaction.
I accept this reaction.
I wish he would go away.
I wish he would go away.
I wish he would trust me.
I wish he would trust me.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't need him over my shoulder.
I don't need him over my shoulder.
Go away.
Go away.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
And I'm not stupid.
I'm not stupid.
Good. So we know this doesn't change his behavior, but it changes your reaction to his behavior, therefore your stress, therefore your chemistry, and however that comes out for weight and eating with you.
Yeah.
Right? How does that feel to you now? It was clearly a 10 in the beginning. We didn't get a second number, but how are you doing now? Just when you picture that aggressive, intrusive parts about him.
More like an 8.
More like an 8? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else coming up about it? About him? That's a good point about it makes you feel stupid.
It's just, it reminds me of an incident that happened when I was a kid.
Okay.
And he reminds me so much of that person that it's hard to disassociate one with the other, even though they're completely different roles.
Okay. So the memories and the echoing triggers the old stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. The old incident, when you think of it right now, 0 to 10, how upset do you get about it?
I get really upset.
Really upset. So even right now, telling us that he reminds you.
Uncomfortable, but it's gotten to the point. It happened when I was like 13 or 14. That, like at the office, if you show that you're uncomfortable, he'll attack you more.
Okay.
So my hands shake under the desk when he gets really upset. And I realized, like, when I noticed that, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. Like, you keep things a secret. So you get these weird habits that even when you're stressed, people don't pick up on it.
Okay. All right. So think of that incident back then. Uncomfortable, how high off the charts?
10.
Off the charts, okay. Even though I'm still afraid of what could come up.
Even though I'm still afraid of what could come up.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And I accept all my feelings.
And I accept all my feelings.
Even though I'm still afraid of what might come up.
Even though I'm still afraid of what might come up.
Around trust issues.
Around trust issues.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
And I'll never forgive myself.
And I'll never forgive myself.
I deeply and profoundly.
Accept.
That I must have done the best I could back then.
The best I could.
Even though I think it was terrible.
Even though I think it was terrible.
And not enough.
Not enough.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
Even though I wasn't enough back then.
That's what I tell myself.
That's what I tell myself.
And that's what I thought they thought. I accept who I am right now.
I accept who I am right now.
And I accept my feelings.
I accept my feelings.
Which I haven't been doing.
No.
I've not been doing. Even though I was scared back then.
Even though I was scared back then.
And it reminds me of now.
And it reminds me of now.
Which reminds me of back then.
Which reminds me of back then.
Because they're so similar.
Because they're so similar.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And how I feel.
And how I feel.
Even though this fear.
Is
being triggered now.
Is being triggered now.
By this guy at the office.
By this guy at the office.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And I think I get it.
And I think I get it.
Even though they're quite similar.
Even though they're quite similar.
In their fear.
In their fear.
And behavior.
And behavior.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
And I'm different now.
And I'm different now.
But he triggers me.
But he triggers me.
And it reminds me of that old incident.
And it reminds me of that old incident.
My hands shake.
My hands shake.
I feel terrible.
I feel terrible.
I feel terrified.
I feel terrified.
I think he's really attacking me.
I think he's really attacking me.
And I don't feel safe.
And I don't feel safe.
And I wasn't safe back then.
And I wasn't safe back then.
That's why I'm so upset. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's perfect. It's perfect.
I'm really sorry.
Please don't apologize. You're doing great. Okay? Keep tapping. Okay? I feel so threatened by him.
I feel so threatened by him.
He's in my space. Side of the eye? He's in my space.
He's in my space.
And if I show vulnerability,
If I show vulnerability,
he attacks me more.
he attacks me more.
And it's scary.
And it's scary.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
I don't feel safe in the office.
I don't feel safe in the office.
5 days a week.
5 days a week.
And I didn't feel safe back then.
I didn't feel safe back then.
I get the connection now.
I get the connection now.
And it's still scary.
And it's still scary.
And I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe.
He attacks me.
He attacks me.
He's aggressive.
He's aggressive.
He attacks me.
He attacks me.
And it's not fair.
And it's not fair.
I want to be left alone
I want to be left alone.
because I know what I'm doing.
Because I know what I'm doing.
Sometimes we can make the intellectual connection, but when we make it emotionally, boom, we can burst out that way, and it's really important. You need to unpack the old one in order to have him, no matter what he does, just not be that big of a presence, even if he's aggressive. His behavior is not going to change, but you're going to change. Okay, how you doing? I know that was upsetting. How you doing?
Good.
Good?
All the issues we talked about is, I don't forgive myself or I'm angry. What about, somebody hates me, somebody's mad at me. Maybe I'm okay with what I did, but they don't forgive me, or they're just...
Perfect target, right?
Okay.
And how do you feel about it?
Right, I was just about to say, let me guess it. So the more important thing is,
Yeah.
My brother hates me,
Yes.
right? So how does that make me feel? So I feel sad about it. I feel
helpless.
I feel helpless. So even though
Even though statement
is
always starts here.
always the setup statement is always here. So even though my brother hates me and
I feel helpless about it.
I feel helpless about it, I deeply and completely love it.
accept.
So we always take it back to ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. The beauty of it is you can't really go wrong here. The more focused you are on the target, the better, but if you're not 100% focused on it, that's okay. The setup statement, the more positive it is, the better, but if it's not 100% positive, that's okay. The statements that you make here, you can say them anytime. The flips you can say anytime. You really can't go wrong. Is there any place where you can go wrong here?
Well, where people go wrong, and I'll get emails or phone calls about this, is they say, oh, that didn't work on me, and I say, what was your target?
Yeah.
And they say, low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Low self-esteem is not a target. It's enormous.
Yeah.
How do you know you have low self-esteem? What
Yeah.
did they say to you? What do you feel when you walk in a room of people?
Right.
Oh, I feel embarrassed or ashamed or less than. Boom, we have a target.
Right, so you got to zero in on your target.
Zero in.
So the art is really choosing your target, right?
Yes.
And if you don't, then it's not going to be less effective, but it's not going to backfire on you, right? Like there's no downside.
No, there's
here.
nothing.
There's not.
Like you won't feel much.
You can't mess up. You can do better, but you can't mess up.
Right. If you choose the wrong target, you're just not tuned in.
You're not getting
You won't
as
get a good
effective
number.
results, but it's not going to be. Yeah.
Won't be effective.
Okay.
Good.
But it's not a disaster. Okay, great.
What other stressors are you struggling with? So 2011, you get separated. Fine when he was involved with the children, but now he's completely stepped away, right?
Right.
How angry are you about that?
Very angry. Very angry.
Yeah. Okay, 0 to 10?
10.
I'm angry at him for, how would you put it? I'm angry at him for, what's your
Leaving
word?
his children.
Okay. 10? Even though I'm angry at him.
Even though I'm angry at him.
For leaving the kids.
For leaving kids.
I'm allowed to feel this way.
I'm allowed to feel this way.
Even though I'm really angry at him.
Really angry at him.
And sometimes I use food.
Sometimes I use food.
To numb that feeling.
To numb that feeling.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
Even though I'm really angry at him.
Even though I'm really angry at him.
How could he leave his children?
How could he leave his children?
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
Eyebrow. I feel so angry at him.
I I feel so angry at him.
How could he leave the children?
How could he leave the children?
And now I have to do everything.
Now I have to do everything.
Now I'm a single parent.
I'm a single parent.
When I'm not really a single parent.
When I'm not really a single parent.
I'm angry at him.
I'm angry.
And it doesn't seem fair.
Doesn't seem fair.
To any of us.
To any of us.
Good. How's the anger? Say it again, repeat it. I'm angry at him for leaving his children.
I'm angry at him for leaving his children.
0 to 10?
6.
6. Okay, so a big drop. Good. Okay, did anything else come up? So that goes from a 10 to a 6. We're going to keep working on that. Anything else come up about this situation? Or phrase it like, how could he, and it's not fair? Anything else that resonated?
He hurt me personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He hurt me.
Okay, so we'll say this. I want you to test both of these. He hurt me personally.
He hurt me personally.
0 to 10?
9.
9.
Mm-hmm.
He betrayed me.
He betrayed me. 10 plus.
10 plus. Okay, so then that's the one we choose because it's got more juice to it, okay?
So really what you're saying is it's really about truth, in an emotion. So if you really feel that, in the new age personal growth development, it's almost like you deny when you're feeling scared or fearful or anxiety. So really when you're making those statements that even though I'm scared that I might have failed or whatever it is, really what you're looking for, and I remember you said this morning, you're talking about truth. You want to get to truth. Is it true, yes or no? Oh,
yes.
As a matter of fact, you would make a statement and then you would say to the participants, is that true?
How true does it feel?
How true does it
0
feel?
to 10.
So really you're trying to target truth, is that?
Your truth about your feelings. So I'll give you an example. I had a client who was working with weight loss and I said, what's the truth about how you feel? She said, the truth is I feel disgusting, but I can't say it out loud because everybody says, don't be silly, you're not disgusting. She felt disgusting, so I let her say, even though I feel disgusting and I'm disgusted with myself, for her that was her truth. And once she was able to say it and I didn't block it, she went, I'm not that disgusted. It started to move. So that was an example of truth.
And I saw you do the truth in the reversal too, because when you were working with John and he was so pent up and had such feelings about this, and then he finally went, and then you went, maybe I can accept myself. And then you stop for a second and you go, is that true?
Right.
And then so you use that, you're trying to target the truth is really what, and by targeting the truth, you're able to really get through to the emotion.
Because otherwise we're always seeing a bounce back.
Yeah.
So someone's doing the happy, I'm happy and free and I'm wonderful, and the person doesn't feel that way. You'll either see this completely glazed over look or there's no movement.
Yeah.
You get the connection about if you have trust issues, you hold on to extra weight, either out of the biochemistry that John was teaching us about, or out of stress, or out of I don't want anybody near me, right? So that's another angle that we can go to with the tapping for you, okay? So I want you to imagine, you okay right now? You just tuned into something.
I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, you just tuned in. Tell me what's going on.
I was thinking about my father.
You're thinking about your father? Mm-hmm. And what about him?
I didn't trust him.
You didn't trust him?
No.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend too.
You don't trust your boyfriend? Didn't trust him?
We broke up.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in my life I thought could trust.
Okay. Betrayed you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now what we want to do when there's a lot of people in your life who've done the same behavior, I want you to focus on one so we don't get scattered in him and this person and that person.
Okay.
So I want you to pick either your boyfriend or your father right now, right? And that feeling of not trusting them. Is your father still alive?
No.
No, okay. So a feeling of not trusting him, or an incident or an event, or with your boyfriend, or that pervasive feeling of, ooh, I just don't trust. And we have to isolate it. That's our target, and then we tap on that. So what would you prefer?
My father.
Your father, okay. So when you think of your father now, even though he's passed, and you think of not trusting him, check that charge, 0 to 10. One of the things we know about childhood trauma is that it's easier to blame ourselves for it than think anything else could be going on. Because when we blame ourselves, then guess what? We could have done something. And there's something relieving about saying it's all my fault. I could have done something, I could have been different. If only, believe it or not, feels better than
guess what? Maybe it wasn't all me.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing to kids. And then you grow up and it's not dealt with and it still feels that way to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else could you say about it to us now?
It's still going on.
What's still going on? Oh,
The past. The
past
trauma
is still
from
going
the
on?
past.
and how is it still going on for you?
It's just people are older now, still doing the same things.
So your family
My
members?
family, yeah.
Okay. Can you say anything more about it? Only what you feel comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with it all. I just can't get it out.
Okay, all right. Eyebrow. It's still going on.
It's still going on.
Side, it's still going on.
It's still going on.
And I can't take it.
I can't take it.
But I can't do anything.
I can't do anything.
I couldn't do anything when I was too young.
I couldn't do anything when I was too young.
And I can't do anything now.
Can't do anything now.
So maybe it wasn't my fault when I was young.
Maybe it wasn't my fault when I was young.
I want to save them.
Want to save them.
I couldn't save anybody back then.
I couldn't save anybody.
I couldn't do enough.
I couldn't do enough.
And I still feel that way now.
And I still feel that way now.
It's still going on.
It's still going on.
I still feel traumatized.
I still feel traumatized.
I still feel the pain.
I still feel the pain.
Because I'm still watching it.
Yes, I'm still watching it.
It's not over. Okay. It's frozen in my body.
It's frozen in my body.
The images are frozen.
The images are frozen.
The feelings are frozen.
The feelings are frozen.
I still feel it as if it were yesterday.
I still feel it as if it was yesterday.
Because it's still going on.
Because it's still going on.
I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
I couldn't save them.
I could save them.
And I still can't save them.
I still can't save them.
Trauma gets trapped in us, right? It gets trapped in our cells, and we have to find our society does not release trauma. It's like, no, you're good. Nope, go to school. Everything's fine. And you've evidently got so much, again, from adulthood, but the childhood stuff is the trigger, is what's really going on. And then you're a firefighter in the hardest company, right, in the tri-state area. So it's like you've got as much new trauma on top of it.
It's a good way to numb the other trauma.
Well, it's very distracting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Running into burning buildings can be quite distracting.
Yeah.
Okay. What else can we say about the childhood trauma? You see, there was a shift there when we were doing that tapping.
Yeah, that felt really good just
okay,
now.
it did.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. What else?
Because you hit all the right points. Is
Okay.
that, I've realized that I can only change me.
Okay.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, people are going to change when they change. You know?
Who do you wish you could have changed as a kid?
My brother.
Your brother. So little kid you wish you could have changed how he behaved and who he was, and you couldn't. And you couldn't. And do you feel guilty about it, or more it's the pain of whatever went on?
Little both.
Little both, okay. Eyebrow. Hurt and betrayal.
Hurt and betrayal.
I thought I was over it.
Thought I was over it.
But it still stings.
Still stings.
Still feels terrible to me.
Still feels terrible.
No wonder I protect myself.
No wonder I protect myself.
Still stings.
Still stings.
Lower. Mm-hmm. No wonder I protect myself.
No wonder I protect myself.
I'll never forget the betrayal.
I'll never forget the betrayal.
I might forget it.
I'd like to forget it.
I don't feel so hurt.
I don't feel so hurt.
I don't blame myself.
I don't blame myself.
And that's a relief.
That's a relief.
But I'm surprised it still hurts so much.
I'm surprised it still hurts so much.
I thought I got over it.
Thought I got over it.
And I don't have to get over it
Don't have to get over it.
if I don't want to.
If I don't want to.
But it might be time.
It is time.
So it may seem like a small difference, but the feelings hurt and betrayal, when you said the difference, whew, you totally shot up to a 10 plus plus plus. So that's the importance of getting the wording right, is just going to what really suits you, what really feels accurate to you, the truth for you. So say it again, he totally betrayed me.
He totally betrayed me.
0 to 10. Now, that's still true, the behavior, but we're measuring the feeling.
Yeah, more like a 6.
More like a 6.
So it seemed to me somewhere along the line when you were working, I saw you do it with John, I saw you do it with Dave, with Grail, somewhere along the line you did a flip where you said, you go, like in this example, am I still angry? Am I really? If let's say it was something that I did wrong, you know, like I don't forgive myself because I'm so mean or something. Am I really that mean? Maybe I'm trying as hard as I can. Maybe I'm not that mean. You did this, what I call a flip. What would you call that? A reversal, a flip?
Well, when someone has been tapping on the upsetting emotion and the numbers going down, then they have the capacity to hear the possibility that they're not such a bad person.
Okay.
But if you start with a positive, which a lot of people in the field want to just do the positive phrases, you completely negate and stop validating what we all need, which is we need to be validated where we are in our feeling.
Okay.
So if you do that first, it's going to bounce off.
Okay, so probably my guess is you're not in a state to do that. Like if you look at where John was, he could never get to this place where he'd say, you know, it's okay what I did, or like in the beginning. No, in the beginning. But I guess what happens at a certain point, you sense, because you've got 20 years experience in this and you're truly brilliant at it, you sense there was a certain point where he could flip and he could forgive himself.
Yes. Well, so part of it is intuitive, part of it is practice. The other part is, if I suggest after a couple of rounds, when John was saying I wasn't enough, I was never enough, and I'm still not enough, if after a couple of rounds I feel like I could suggest maybe I was enough, maybe I did everything I could, there are two options. I'm either going to be wrong, and he's going to reject that, and I'll see it in his face, or it's going to land the way it did with him, and he said, you know what, I have done enough. The problem with doing it too quickly, the flip to, quote, positive statements, or maybe I could forgive myself, it's a possibility that I could consider forgiving myself and letting myself off the hook. If you do that too soon, the person pushes back, and if you're doing it on yourself, you will push back and say, please. So that's why you want to do a couple of rounds on the target, the issue, the anger, the hurt, the guilt, the craving. The feeling out of control. Do a couple of rounds first, then you can start to introduce something more positive or something, you know, more cognitively digestible for them, like, you know what, maybe I did do the best I could when I was 8 years old.
Right. So with the flip or reversal or whatever you want to call it, you can't really go wrong with that. It's just that if you do it and it doesn't sit with you, it'll bounce back. So you want to try the reversal at different times until it doesn't bounce back. And once it doesn't bounce back, then you're making some real progress.
How is it to talk about the old incident?
I hate it.
You hate it?
Yeah.
You hate it?
Yeah. Like I waited so long to tell anyone.
What happened? Okay. You waited so long to tell anyone?
They said it was my fault, and that it was too late to do anything. And they just didn't believe me. Okay. So I hate talking about it because it doesn't change anything.
Okay, all right. And then that resistance to ever talking about it and ever getting it validated gets trapped. Your experience, you're saying, why would I talk about it? I was blamed. Right? Did you believe them when they said it was your fault? Is there a part of you that thought, maybe? Yes? Okay. I want you to test that, okay? It was my fault.
It was my fault.
How true does it feel? How upsetting does that feel as a yes for you?
It's what I kind of made peace with and closed it off with.
That it's your fault? All right, okay. Even though I'm convinced it was my fault?
Even though I'm convinced it was my fault.
There's a part of me that isn't sure.
There's a part of me that isn't sure.
And that triggers a lot of feelings.
And that triggers a lot of feelings.
Even though I waited a long time.
Even though I waited a long time.
And when I finally told someone.
And when I finally told someone.
They said it was my fault.
They said it was my fault.
No wonder I won't talk about it.
No wonder I won't talk about it.
I see that it's connected to my situation now.
I see that it's connected to my situation now.
And part of that's relieving. Part of that's relieving.
Part of that's relieving.
Because I'm going to unpack both of them.
Because I'm going to unpack both of them.
And I'm going to take the sting out of both.
We're going to take the sting out of both.
This is not my fault.
This is not my fault.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault.
But they said it was.
But they said it was.
So what if it is my fault?
So what if it is my fault?
What if it isn't?
What if it isn't?
And I've spent all these years blaming myself.
And I've spent all these years blaming myself.
What if it wasn't my fault?
What if it wasn't my fault?
I understand why I didn't tell anyone.
I understand why I didn't tell anyone.
It was too scary.
It was too scary.
And too threatening.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal?
He was a big deal.
He was a big deal. Okay.
Yeah,
He was a big deal.
he was a big deal.
I couldn't tell anyone.
I couldn't tell anyone.
And when I did, I got in trouble.
And when I did, I got in trouble.
All those old memories
All those old memories.
and old feelings.
And old feelings.
And I don't like what's happening now.
I don't like what's happening now.
He hovers.
He hovers.
And he criticizes.
And he criticizes.
And he picks up when I'm uncomfortable.
He picks up when I'm uncomfortable.
And my hands shake.
And my hands shake.
Which makes me feel vulnerable.
Which makes me feel vulnerable.
And weak.
And weak.
And he picks it up.
And he picks it up.
I hate the cycle.
I hate the cycle.
But I feel a little different.
But I feel a little different.
He's not changing.
He's not changing.
But I might.
But I might.
And I am smart.
And I am smart.
And I'm doing a lot.
And I'm doing a lot.
And I know what I'm doing.
And I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
So leave me alone.
So leave me alone.
So this is how we straddle a past incident with a current. The current is totally triggering her, but we've got to get both of them down, or else they just keep seesawing back and forth.
Yeah.
All right? So the old incident that feels so terrible, how are you doing on it now? You've told us about, what it felt like, and then you told someone finally a while later, and they blamed you. The facts don't change. How do you feel about it?
Kind of like it's in the past. Like it really doesn't touch me anymore. It's just kind of like a shadow.
A shadow. And that's different than 10 minutes ago.
It feels very real. You live it. When people make you feel unsafe, it's a very weird feeling to feel like somebody's waiting for you to drop your guard.
I hate these feelings.
I hate these feelings.
They've caused me anxiety my whole life.
They've caused me anxiety my whole life.
And pain.
Pain.
And I wish they would go away.
I wish they would go away.
The truth is I didn't trust them.
The truth is I didn't trust
And I shouldn't.
And I shouldn't.
And I shouldn't have.
And I shouldn't have.
These trust issues with my father.
These trust issues with my father.
I've had them my whole life.
I've had them my whole life.
So at a 10 plus plus plus, there's no rationality. It's terror. It comes from the inside, and you want to protect yourself. You get it down even to an 8, and you may even have switched a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on now?
I feel like I'm not inside of it anymore.
Not inside of it anymore. Interesting. What's that?
I feel less anxiety, like
Good.
maybe even a 6 or a 7.
Good.
And I'm thinking about he should protect the family.
Mm-hmm.
I had to protect the family.
You became the protector?
I had to.
You had to. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to.
You wanted to, but he wasn't around. He wasn't good at doing it, so you had to take over.
Later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
And how do you feel about that? What's the feeling?
I'm angry.
You're angry. Okay, 10? I'm going to just assume it's a 10, all right?
Yes.
Yep. Good. Good. Even though I'm angry at him
Even though I'm angry at him
for not protecting the family,
for not protecting the family.
and I had to take over,
And I felt like I had to take over.
I accept that I'm angry.
I accept I'm angry.
Even though I don't like my anger much.
Even though I don't like my anger.
Scares me.
It scares me.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
And I'm allowed to feel my feelings.
And I'm allowed to feel my feelings.
Even though I feel angry at him.
Even though I'm angry at him.
And resentful.
And resentful.
How could he leave us? And I mean emotional,
How could he not protect
us? I deeply and completely accept me, my feelings, and what I thought I had to do. I'm angry at my father. And it's hard to say. And it's hard to feel.
It's hard to feel.
But I'm angry at my father. Angry and resentful.
Angry and resentful.
That I had to step in and be the protector.
I felt like I had to protect her.
The family. I had to step in and protect the family.
I had to step in and protect.
And I'm still angry about it.
I'm still angry.
And I'm still protecting them.
I'm still protecting everybody.
So that's true. You're still doing it, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about cravings. And typically with tapping, when someone goes to tapping for weight loss, they're always talking about cravings and behavior modification. Even though I want that chocolate cake, I deeply and completely accept myself. And I think we really demonstrated this morning that that's not the real issues, but everybody talks about that, and that's all they think about. I'm wondering, is there a place for that in weight loss, the behavior modification, the fighting the cravings? Is there a place for that, even though it's not the real issues that we're dealing with? Do you work in that, on that capacity? And if so, how would we do something like that?
Well, I do, because when people come to me for weight loss, they've tried everything. They're exhausted and they're ashamed. So when I show them the chocolate, we tap on their craving, and their craving starts to go down, they say, this is different. And that's how I worked when I first worked with clients. I didn't know what I was doing, so I would just do cravings. Then what happens when the craving gets low enough, the stress comes up, the fear comes up. I had one woman say to me, oh, it's not about the donuts anymore. I get it. And something about her father started to come up, because the craving, feels like it's physiological only, but we know, and as you were describing, it comes from stress.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is, when you first started, you used the cravings as a doorway, and you didn't even know that it was going to be a doorway, and that's how you discovered that there's so many more issues to weight loss and to weight than just the cravings. But it's a good way to you talk about, okay, the cravings gone, but something else.
Because cravings are so intense and they really feel out of control, they can't make the connection that it's stress, anger, hurt, childhood issues. They can't make the connection because the craving feels out of control at the time and so intense. So when we can get that down, then they can start to look at the other pieces. It's like when you're screaming mad, you're not going to make a good choice.
It's like when you're doing a tapping sequence and something else is jumping out, you can't focus. So this lady that comes to you, she doesn't want to talk about her childhood or the fact that her father didn't love her, whatever it was. The cravings are all she can focus on. So you use tapping for cravings as a way to get under that and into some of the real issues.
Yes. And also talking to them about how the cravings feel real, but they're just a distraction. And people say, no, but it's real. I know it's real. I've had them. I know what it feels like. But if the craving weren't going on right now, what do you think might come up? And they go, how did you know? Well, I don't know anything. I just met you. And they say, yes, I've got an issue that I'm dealing with or I don't want to deal with. Because that's what we kept saying this morning is, remember, we understand that food works. It works to temporarily squash the feelings, and if that's your goal because it's too painful, that's how you put on 1 pound, 2 pound, 100 pounds, 200. That's how you do it. So there's one story. I worked with someone in the very beginning on weight loss, and she had tried everything, hypnosis, pills, every diet in the world. And she grew up in a family where there were padlocks on the refrigerator and the pantry, all of that. And she and all of her sisters had a weight problem and had since they were children. And when we started doing the tapping, we started on cravings, but we moved into the stress of her life, the stress with her elderly parents and her siblings and her children and a new husband, because they had a combined family. And she kept saying, why am I keeping the weight off this time? What's different? And at that point, I didn't say much about tapping. I just said it's a stress relief technique. Let's just do it. And I didn't do a whole lot of background explanation. And she was thrilled because she felt not so crazy anymore, because she was in control. She ate when she was hungry, basically, and didn't chase food all around the way she had. And a key for her was deprivation. So that thing about
the padlocks. I'm very familiar with that situation. That's a kind of common situation, and it just causes a lifetime of deprivation.
And the
rebellion.
rebellion.
And rebellion, exactly. But the fact that you were able to deal with it by just going deeper and deeper into the stress by working through the tapping.
But when the client comes back week after week and says, I'm different and I'm doing things differently, that's when you listen. That's when, as a psychotherapist, you wake up and say, something's going on here that's different. Because I was very skeptical in the beginning too. What is this tapping on acupuncture? What are you talking about? I had to be trained in it and then try it myself to get my own examples and my own results with clients as well as with myself.
Well, the examples are amazing. They really are.
When you think of taking care of your mother and you feel helpless, how high? 0 to 10? 10. 10. Okay. When you think of your brother and trying to take care of him now, how high? It can be the same, but I just want to make sure there's...
it's about 10.
10 also. Okay, so you have 2 10s in your adult life, and I'm sure there's more, right?
Yeah, living together.
They're living together?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Karate chop. Even though I feel helpless now,
Even though I feel helpless.
I can't fix them.
No, I can't fix them.
I can't take care of them.
Can't take care.
And I feel guilty. Is that true?
Yeah.
Guilty as well as helpless and helpless. I deeply and profoundly
I deeply and profoundly
accept
accept
that I'm in a better place.
that I'm in a better place.
And I'm healthier.
I'm healthier.
And sometimes I don't like that.
Sometimes I don't like that.
I feel guilty.
I feel guilty.
Even though I feel helpless.
Even though I feel helpless.
That I'm not helping them more.
That I'm not helping them.
That I can't do it.
That I can't.
I don't know what it takes.
I don't know what it takes.
I accept where I am and who I am.
I accept where I am and who I am.
Even though I still have helpless feelings
Even though I still have helpless feelings.
about taking care of them,
About taking care of them.
I accept who I am.
I accept who I am.
What if I gave myself compassion?
What if I gave myself compassion?
What if I recognized all that I'm doing?
What if I recognized all that I'm doing?
And all that I'm doing well?
And all that I'm doing well?
What if I recognized how strong I truly am?
What if I recognized how strong I truly am?
Betrayal or not?
Betrayal or not?
Ex-husband or not?
Ex-husband or not?
I'm really stronger than I thought.
I'm really stronger than I thought.
But I've been carrying a big burden.
Been carrying a big burden.
And I need some relief.
Need some relief.
And I need some compassion.
Need some compassion.
A little self-forgiveness.
A little self-forgiveness.
A little self-love.
A little self-love.
I've been pretty hard on myself.
Been pretty hard on myself.
And I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
And all of it's okay.
All of it's okay.
And I'm okay with all the feelings I have.
I'm okay with all the feelings I have.
Of course I was angry.
Of course I was angry.
Of course I am angry.
Of course I am angry.
I had to step in.
I have to step in.
That's not fair.
That's not fair.
Why didn't he protect us?
Why didn't he protect us?
Why did I have to be the protector?
Why did I have to be the protector?
All this anger at my father
All this anger at my father.
that I've been carrying around for half a century.
That I've been carrying around for a century.
Get out of my space.
Get out of my space.
Get out of my face.
Get out of my face.
I am enough.
I am enough.
I'm enough whatever I'm doing.
I am enough whatever I'm doing.
And I'm doing a great job.
And I'm doing a great job.
And you're lucky to have me on the team.
And you're lucky to have me on the team.
So don't ruin it.
So don't ruin it.
Get out of my face.
Get out of my face.
My job is me
My job's me.
and my family.
My family.
And I love my family.
And I love my family.
And I want to be with my family.
I want to be with my family.
And I don't want to give any more energy
And I don't want to give any more energy
to people who don't want to change.
to people who don't want to change.
Because it doesn't work.
Because it doesn't work.
And I'm exhausted.
And I'm exhausted.
So I would say homework for you. Any remaining anger about it? You got it down so far, you were like, well, I don't feel angry. I feel kind of sorry for her, right? Any remaining stuff on the loneliness, right? Totally tappable issue, okay? Any of those issues that we discussed. If there's anything left sticky on the betrayal, keep doing it until it bores you, until the topic's like, please, that is in the past. So where is that now, the feelings of the betrayal?
Low.
Low, good. You may not feel the need to go there, but that would be up to you. So that would be homework. So that's the direction, pick the feeling, right? Pick the frustration, right? The betrayal, and tap on that until they're so low, it's hard to get your attention. And usually 3, 2, or 1 is pretty hard to get your attention. Right? Nice, thanks, Jackie. Go back to the old incident. Is it still a 5? The upset when you think of it?
Not really.
What's it feel like?
It just feels like it's in the past.
Yeah.
Like it just happened and it just is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's such kind of a relief.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, I would think so. Excellent. And watch for your hands shaking, because he's not gonna have the same effect on you, because we dropped the old one, so he's not gonna have the same effect.
Yeah.
You might shake a little, you might not at all, and go, wow, it's not happening. But look for physiological changes where you feel more in command, more safe, and more yourself. Like, they're lucky to have, I never met you, and I know they're lucky to have you. You know that, right? You know,
a little bit.
A little bit. We'll work on that later. Charity, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
It's really, really important. How are you doing overall emotionally? We've done some pretty big issues. How are you doing?
I feel a little calmer.
A little calmer? Good.
Much calmer. I don't feel angry at my father anymore.
Don't feel any anger?
No.
So let's test you, okay? I'm angry at my father.
I'm angry at my father.
And I should be.
And I should be. And I don't I don't have anger.
That looks like a 0 to me. You're like, not really.
I'm not even angry at him. I feel sorry for him.
Feel sorry for him.
Because he missed out on so much.
He did.
I think I'm not sure how to go take care of myself, but I think I can try.
Well, we can't possibly do it if the guilt is, 8, 9, or 10. We just simply won't do it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to go back and test the first thing we did, the trust issues. You just see what kind of a zing in your body you get for that.
All
okay?
right.
I had these trust issues.
I have these trust issues. I'm okay.
I know, I could see. Could you see her face? Could you see the difference? You're almost looking for it. Really?
Yeah, I was looking to see if I had to jump inside or not.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's, I have to think about that, I'm okay.
Good. Good.
Do you feel like there's been enough release that you...
Yes. Yeah. Just that I was able to get it out. Just it has been pent up, and it's just been overwhelming.
Yeah.
I just want to make, just re-emphasize a point that we've talked about a number of times. We're making a DVD here on tapping for weight loss, right? And if you notice, we haven't talked about cravings, right? We haven't talked about behavior modification, what to do when you're walking past a donut shop. We haven't talked about any of that stuff, right? You focus on exactly what you're doing right now, releasing these intense, powerful emotions that are causing all this chemistry in your body, and you are never going to have to count another calorie again. You're not going to have to worry about a craving. This is dealing with the real issues.
Yeah.
Then it all goes away.
Yeah. Time to take care of me.
Really powerful work. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm giving a hug.
Yeah. Before the tapping session, I was full of stress and anger.
I was feeling extremely anxious and panicked.
Tight. I just felt very tight. Just felt on edge, and like there was a lot of stuff about to spill over.
Really right before Carol started asking me questions, I was very, very nervous.
I almost talked myself out of coming today because I think I had in my head kind of created that this was going to be kind of some, voodoo, woo-woo, and the fear of coming was about, because somebody might see me cry, and I'm glad that I did because I got to see me cry.
Right now I'm feeling much more at ease and much calmer.
The emotions that I wasn't expecting to well up were moved and released. I didn't expect it, and that was a breakthrough.
Feel a lot better about myself. Didn't think I was going to talk about the things I talked about.
I feel much calmer, and I feel I have a way to lose weight.
Tapping is easier than you think. It's more of an immediate relief than you would think.
I have a sense of hope and that there's possibilities. I really feel that I've released things came up I had no idea of, and I feel that they're gone.
It's so different from anything that I've certainly come into contact with, before. Here, touch these special places on your face and it'll make a difference. Like, that's strange. But I think at the end you're like, oh, it works. Like, that's not surprising.
For someone who thinks tapping's not for them, it does look weird. It definitely seems strange. But the effects that you get from it, the feelings that you get from it, the release of some of the stresses you have inside you are definitely profound. You might want to get over the feeling of feeling silly doing it, because it's definitely something that works.
If I met somebody who was skeptical about tapping, I'd say, if you don't feel better, I'll buy you a drink. And if you do feel better, you buy me one.
And now I feel I'm going to have a huge opportunity to be fit and trim, because I'm not going to be carrying around all this anxiety and stress. And I have the tools to be able to do this when I do encounter something that's stressful.
At the very least, it's calming, and at its best, it's a tool that you'll have for the rest of your life that you need less than 15 minutes to pick up.
I do see tapping being a definite useful tool for the future, just in the benefits that I got so quickly.
I will definitely apply tapping in the future.
This workshop has been more than I could have ever expected. It has been beyond any expectation and a wonderful experience.
I really do feel that there is hope, that I have a tool that I can manage my stress and anxiety, and I think it's going to be amazing to tap into it. No pun intended.